Well, hey, look, we're on video now. Isn't that neat? That means you get to watch me talk about a team and listen to me talk about a team that seemingly can't find a win right now with your eyes.
Your Locked On Capitals, your daily podcast on the Washington Capitals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Capitals. I am your host, as always, the insider to the insiders, Tyler Kuehl. And yes, we're on video. Holy cow, look at this. Yeah, you can see me and stuff. Isn't this kind of unique? It's pretty neat, isn't it? And you can see, and that's me down there in the corner, and you can see my Twitter handle and all that stuff. So everyone right now listening to the podcast is like, why do we care, Tyler? Well, because if you want to watch and, if you like going on YouTube and stuff like that, you can follow us on YouTube at Locked On Capitals on there. But of course, as always, you can also listen to us, which reminds me to thank you all very much for making Locked On Capitals your first listen and watch today and every day. Now, with that, we still have business to talk about. The game on Saturday, the Philadelphia Flyers. I will say, once again, it's another Saturday night that I was not able to watch a Washington Capitals game because I was busy. We'll get to why here in a second, but I do have thoughts. I was able to watch the game back, and I said to myself, interesting. Also, we'll get ready for tonight's game against the Buffalo Sabres, which could be an interesting game, and we'll also get to our Kuehl Kaps prior to the end of this first ever video. Is it on video? I don't know. This streamed edition of Locked On Capitals. I don't know what you call on video where visually you can see me talk about this hockey club. So let's get to first why I was not able to watch the game. Now, usually it's me broadcasting hockey or broadcasting something, doing, having to talk in some other way or another. Well, it wasn't quite the reason why the other night. I was actually at a Dave Matthews Band concert. Never been there before. My buddy Thomas Biano came over from Detroit, longtime broadcast buddy of mine, and he came over, big Dave Matthews fan himself. We went to the show. I had a good time. I noticed I knew a couple of the songs. I'm not like a huge Dave Matthews Band fan, but it was pretty cool. And let me tell you, there was nobody frisking for joints in that place because, boy, there was a lot of smoke up in the air at Van Andel Arena. So it was a fun night, but I was able to get back to the game to look back at the Washington Capitals' second regulation loss this season to the Philadelphia Flyers. 2-1 was the final score. Now, I'm not totally flipping out about this game because, well, listen, it's another loss against a good hockey club. It's not like they lost to Arizona the other night. It's not like they lost in regulation to the Detroit Red Wings, even though they are still a good hockey team in Detroit in their own right. This isn't like them losing to a California team, which is coming up, obviously. The California trip, the Death Valley trip, as I like to call it. I'm interested to see what this team does move forward because it's another game where, for the first real bit, for a long stretch of that first period, dare I say, the Washington Capitals were outplayed. That's the crazy part in this whole thing is because it's only been a handful of times, kids, that we have talked about the Washington Capitals really getting their lunch handed to them. For the first period, Philadelphia certainly did. They were outshot in that first period 12-6, doubled up on shots, which you may have found in like 5-minute stretches where they were outshot maybe like 4-2, but never in a full 20-minute segment that the Washington Capitals have had that early on this season. And that's not anything against the Washington Capitals. It's just look at the Philadelphia Flyers and how and the weapons they have. Konechny, Couturier, Giroux. We'll get to Couturier obviously in a minute. Cam Atkinson. There's a lot of offensive weapons with this hockey club. So that's why I'm not saying, oh my gosh, this is a cause for concern because they got hemmed in their own zone. I will say Vitek Vanacek, I thought, played really well in that first period. Ends up making all 12 saves. I think he looked calm, cool, and collected after what was a rather chaotic game in Florida the other night. So once again, it was not a bad period, but you certainly saw the Washington Capitals get outplayed by a good hockey team. Because as of right now, yes, the entire Metropolitan Division is still above 500. Now, the second period, even though it was a lot closer, lots of chances all around. Washington, I think, outshot him, was it 14-11 in that second period. But Philadelphia gets on the board. First goal, Derek Brassard just kind of floating around in the slot. Cam Atkinson working hard in the corner. Great feed to him. One-timer past the glove. Vanacek, his second of the season. You can't leave Brassard open like that. That was a lot of puck watching. You saw the Capitals defense kind of look behind the goal. You kind of see the fact that, oh no, he's wide open. We should do something about it. Well, you're right. You should do something about it, but there are some times when you're not able to, which is totally okay because Cam Atkinson's a great player. And if he had the puck, I'd keep my eyes on him too, but you got to keep your head on a swivel. You got to watch where everyone is on the ice. You got to make sure you know who is open, especially Brassard. And listen, I know Brassard's not a prolific goal scorer, but you shouldn't leave a National Hockey League caliber player open in the slot. That's what happened, and that's why the Caps were down 1-0. A couple minutes later, all of a sudden, Carl Hagelin, he's got a breakaway. Speedy Carl Hagelin, Michigan boy, by the way. Carl Hagelin streaking down the ice, has a great opportunity to tie the game, and whiffs. Listen, Martin Jones looked good in the third period, which we'll get to here in just a moment, but let me tell you, it's going to be very easy for him to stop the puck if you don't get a whole lot of mustard on it. So, easy stop there. It's still 1-0, but then a couple minutes later, Sean Couturier gets in a hard battle in front. Rasmus Ristolainen turns one on goal, and Dmitry Orlov just kind of let Couturier go, and he slides it in to make it 2-0. You got to play tougher in front of your own goaltender, especially the way Vanacek was playing too. He was making some big stops in this hockey game throughout the entire game, even when Washington went down. You got to find a way to really step up in front of your goaltender, especially Dmitry Orlov. He's been around the bush a time or two, as has Couturier. Couturier obviously knows how to work down low. Couturier, I love watching him play, but I would hate to play against him because A, he's talented. B, he is tough to play against. He's always strong on the puck. He's willing to get in the dirty areas, and he lets you know when he's there. He's not afraid to throw the weight around a little bit. This time he outworks Orlov in front. His fifth goal of the season, one of the top scorers, tied for actually second on the team in scoring, makes it 2-0. That's where we were after 40 minutes of play. So, Capitals trying to push, trying to find a way to get back on the board. And Connor McMichael says, I am Connor McMichael, and by the power of Mike Stubbs and Mark Hunter and Dale Hunter and the London Knights, I will get us back in this hockey game. Streaks down the right wing side of his own zone, doing a little flip puck around, dances around a defender, making him look like he belongs in Lehigh Valley, brings it right about to go behind the net. All of a sudden, swoop back behind him. Martin Jones doesn't know what's happening. He tries to recover. Brett Leeson gets about as much mustard on it as about maybe a little tea-scoop you get from a little packet at McDonald's, and he's able to put it in top corner over Martin Jones to get on the board. Brett Leeson, his second goal. Hendricks Lapierre on the ice gets a plus there. Good for him. But, yeah, boy, oh boy, guys, that was a fluky goal as it is, but it's all because of the play of Connor McMichael. No question about it, because, boy, that play does not happen without him. Listen, I get it. We talk about the young man a lot. We talk about him quite frequently, but it's hard not to by the way he plays. By the way he pushes the play, by the way he pressures, and he creates opportunities as well. In this game alone, let's quick check my numbers here. He ended up playing 12-15 in this one. Him, Lapierre, and Leeson were all in that line together. I like his skill set, his ability. John Carlson gets a secondary assist on this one. It's probably the easiest secondary assist he'll have this year. Third assist for Connor McMichael. Now points in back-to-back games for the former London Knight and Canadian World Junior veteran. It's so fun to watch him because now you start to see him get comfortable. And I say comfortable as in he knows, in confidence, another way. He knows the plays he can make. And he's not quite going world-beating 100-plus points like he did in his last year in junior in London, but he's starting to get that itch of his, the ability to know what kind of plays he can make at speeds that he's used to making when he played in the Ontario Hockey League. That's what's going to make him dangerous as the season wears on. That's why, unfortunately, if it comes down to it between him or Lapierre or Brett Leeson, it's going to be McMichael getting the front runner of the works. That's why Alexei Protas is back down with Hershey. Leeson maybe join him here as well in just a little bit. Well, actually, the injury report may be saying otherwise, as you guys saw just a moment ago. Unfortunately, though, despite the good amount of chances towards the end, Martin Jones all of a sudden is like, you know what? I'm still a decent goaltender. I am in the National Hockey League. I have the ability here. So let's have some fun here with this, right? And ends up making a bunch of big saves there towards the end. In fact, in total, he ended up stopping 14 of the 15 shots the Caps had in the third period. Ends up making 31 saves in the victory. Flyers hold on. They improve their record now. And man, I tell you, this is a good hockey team. I'm not knocking that at all, but you almost think that's one of those games. By the way, they're now 6-2-2. They jump ahead of the Washington Capitals because they have one more win and one more point than Washington because Washington has all those overtime losses. Like I said, kids, I know it's only early in the season. We're not at American Thanksgiving yet, but already you can see the OT losses coming back to haunt the Capitals. But Philly, though, boy, I mean, I myself, I love Carter Hart. Loved him when he was in Everett. Loved him when he played for Canada in the World Juniors. I have high hopes for that young man to be hopefully, knock on wood, finally the Philadelphia Flyers goaltender that can play in that city and manage in that city. Because people think what Tuukka Rask dealt with in Boston is horrendous and tough. Look at the goaltending carousel in Philadelphia. Honestly, since Ronnie Hextall, Brian Boucher, great rookie season. John Van Beesbrook, great veteran, ends up going away. Then you have Roman Cechmanek. There you go. Robert Esch. And there you go. And I can keep going here. What do you got? Ontario Niedemaki. There you go. Boucher comes back again. Michael Layton. Ilya Brzgalov. Sergei Bobrovsky. There you go. Steve Mason allows a goal from 175 feet. The long list of goaltending issues with this franchise since Hextall and even before that Bernie Parent, it's incredible. And people that probably don't know, and it's unfortunately a tragic story, Pelle Lindbergh, who was probably going to be had it not been for the accident that cost the life of Pelle Lindbergh, I will tell you right now, we never know who Ronnie Hextall is. And I am 100% dead serious on that. He was that good of a goaltender. That Philadelphia Flyers team made it to the finals in 85, was leading the league in 86 at the time of the accident, and unfortunately just couldn't manage it. Then Hextall comes on next year, takes them back to the finals, and inevitably a rather successful period in terms of competition and playoff longevity for the Philadelphia Flyers because of Hexy. That team, like this franchise is so rough when it comes to goaltending. You hope they figure it out eventually because they have a good young goaltender there in Carter Hart, and I'm excited to see what happens later on down the line. We're going to get to, by the way, 30 saves for Vitek Vanacek. Great game. I thought he played out of him. Like I said, the 2 goals, one is a defensive breakdown right in front of him. Another is a defensive breakdown in front of him, just with a guy wide open in the slot and a one-timer. I thought he played well. I'm not sure what's going on with Ilya Samsonov. Obviously, there's a lot of whispers that he did not want to play in that game against Florida, hence why he didn't start right away. So we're going to keep our ears open and eyes open for this story because if Samsonov is not obviously ready to go here, this could really make things very interesting for the Washington Capitals goaltending situation, which means maybe Zach Fucale may have to come up soon. I'm not saying let's not hope not, because I think every goaltender deserves a chance because Fucale still has not. Fucale, let's put it this way. Fucale was, before Carter Hart, the big Canadian goaltending prospect. So when he faltered, everyone thought Carter Hart was going to do the same thing. But I think Carter Hart's doing okay right now, even though he didn't play Saturday in the win against the Capitals. He'll be playing up in Philadelphia's next game. So with that, we'll get to Buffalo's matchup here tonight. We'll also get to our Kuehl Kaps later on in the show. However, guys, does this sound familiar? You got one device that lets you catch the game live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows, and then you got your best friends log in for all the good stuff while you're watching sports highlights on your phone. Well, I want to tell you about a simple way to get all that entertainment you'll love without the hassle, and a great way to get your TV together. DirecTV Stream. It brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite shows, movies, and sports all in the same place. That means no more juggling remotes, no need to buy another device ever again, and the best part, no annual contract. Go to directvstream.com, directv.com to learn more about DirecTV Stream to get your TV together. And guys, I'm going to tell you about Indeed. Indeed makes it easier for star applicants to shine with over 135 assessment tests from cooking to coding, helping you find the best employee for your business or work. Pick what skills are important to you from their over 135 assessments to get a clear view of your top talent's abilities faster. Those assessments make the interview process smoother for everyone, and talent doesn't need to prove themselves again, and you can dive deeper into talking about what's important to you. With Indeed assessments, you can reduce hiring time by 12%, according to Indeed data worldwide. Get started right now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your post at Indeed.com/locked-on. Get, like I said, $75 credit at Indeed.com/locked-on. Offer valid through December 31st. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? Well, you need Indeed. Indeed, you do. So, the Buffalo Sabres, eh? I'm interested about this hockey game for a multitude of reasons. Because this team, this franchise, over the past, I couldn't tell you how long this team has struggled with the fact of the saga of Jack Eichel. Now, I voiced my opinion pretty obviously about it. People thought Kevin Adams once again got fleeced for Jack Eichel, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm just going to put this out there. And this is probably, everyone's probably heard this story, and they probably saw me on Twitter at TJKU29, by the way. Kevin Adams did not get fleeced in this deal. Yes. Did he get knocked when he traded Taylor Hall to Boston? 100,000% yes. However, in this scenario, Jack Eichel was still an injured hockey player, not playing because of his injured neck. And he was getting traded, and obviously a team that was desperate to trade him. Jack Eichel, by the way, was also going under an experimental surgery that has never been done on an active NHL player before. Which means, while he may come out of it healthy, we do not know how successful he may be when he returns to full form with the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, I'm going to just quickly throw this thing out there. Bo Jackson. You guys remember Bo Jackson? Some of you may be too young to remember, but Bo Jackson was a freak of nature. God's gift of athletic talent. The man could do everything but skate on ice. Seriously, they tried to do it for that commercial, that Nike commercial, Bo knows, and it didn't work out so well. Even when Gretzky's like, no, this ain't real. But the thing with Bo Jackson was he ends up tearing an artery in his hip that actually causes like his hip to die in a way. Couldn't walk on it, couldn't be an athlete without it. He gets hip replacement surgery, something old people do, something I'm going to have to do because my hips when I was a goaltender were not great. And he was able to come back and play professional baseball for the Chicago White Sox. And while he was okay, while he still had some of his arm, while he could still swing the bat pretty good, he was not an all-star anymore. He was not as fast, not as strong. And that's one thing that's always been the mythological what if of this world. If Bo Jackson doesn't pop his hip playing football, would he have been a Hall of Famer and so on? Ifs and buts were candy nuts, right? That's why I'm looking at this thing with Jack Eichel here. Jack Eichel may still be a really good hockey player out of this, but no one's knowing for sure if he's going to come back to the $10 million star of the Buffalo Sabres, Jack Eichel, that we have seen over the past few seasons prior to this injury. So you're right. Did Jack Eichel at his peak get the value of this trade? No. However, I'm really excited to see Alex Tuch when he comes back from injury, shoulder injury, the local kid. Also, Peyton Krebs is going to be something someday, guys. All right. Vegas obviously has no problem trading their first round picks away because Peyton Krebs, I think he's going to start in Rochester, but he could certainly be a guy that Buffalo uses later on down the line. Oh, and by the way, 2 draft picks on top of it. Buffalo got a good deal out of this. And Buffalo, while they've kind of spooked some people based on the fact that, they kind of, I don't want to say they started to really fall off the cliff, but they're not a bad hockey team. Yeah, they're slipping back below, or they're back closer to 500, 5-4-2. They've lost a couple of their last games. They lost the other night to Detroit at home in overtime. By the way, Mo Sider's first NHL goal. Watch out for him. But yes, they have lost last 4 games, 3 of them in regulation time. Yeah, Buffalo's coming down to earth. But this is a team that's working hard. And I think now with all this put aside behind them, they're going to be competitive. They're still going to be competitive. we all had the running gag about how, oh, look, this team is going to go, they're going to not even hit 16 wins, yada, yada, yada. Now we have that discussion going on for Arizona, even though, yes, they did get their first win against Seattle on Saturday night. But, man, this is not going to be an easy team to beat against. Craig Anderson's having I don't want to say, I almost said fun year. He's having an okay year. 4-2 with a 2.50 goals against average and a 9.21 save percentage. The old man still got it. Dustin Tokarski, speaking of World Junior goaltenders, he's 1-2 with a 2.72 goals against average and a 9.15 save percentage. Both are not playing bad. Had a couple of each of them, but they're not playing bad. Rasmus Asplund has been quite the surprise, leading the team with 10 points. Victor Olofsson, Mr. Power Play goal himself, is scoring in 5-on-5 as well, leads the team with 5 goals. Tage Thompson is seemingly working out down the middle as well, even though people thought he's a winger. Why is he playing center? Well, he's got 4 goals so far. He's looking good. Arttu Raustalainen, I hope I'm saying that right. Raustalainen, I hope I am. I'm sorry to all the Buffalo fans out there. I'm enjoying watching this team play. Buffalo and San Jose are 2 teams that are kind of coming back down here, but they're not abysmal to watch, as many of us thought they were going to be. Now, will the mean come out and they'll fall back down the standings closer to last place finish? There's a good chance. But these kids are there's a lot of kids on these teams, both teams, by the way, San Jose, which we will get to next week when we see them play in the California trip. These teams are just out there competing hard because there's a lot of young kids on those teams that really are like, you know what? I want to be an AHLer. Let's go play hard. And that's what's going to make them very tough to play against tonight. Not quite sure who's going to get the start. Obviously, you saw the injury report. TJ Oshie still week to week. Nicholas Backstrom is skating with full pads and with the conditioning coach, but not anywhere near practicing with the team yet, let alone taking hits so he can get closer to a game. Obviously, Anthony Mantha, who had to leave last week and went under shoulder surgery after the game, after the bump against Florida. He's going to be out for the foreseeable future after the shoulder surgery, which is never something that's easy to come back from. So this is just giving young kids more and more opportunities. Brett Leeson, Hendrix Lapierre. I'm not sure if Alexei Protas got sent back down prior to the game against Philly. I'm not sure if he's going to get a call-up anytime soon. Obviously, Nick Dowd is still a question mark with this team. So there's going to be we talk about young kids on the ice. Well, Washington's going to have a few of them. The old team of the Washington Capitals, they are going to be a team that is going to have some young kids step up. Connor McMichael, hello, Brett Leeson, you have a pair of goals. Hendrix Lapierre, I think, is if anyone who wants to show that they can stay on this team, is going to have to really start producing. And I'm not saying he's playing bad, kids. I'm not going to say that at all. He's just been, a victim of circumstance. He didn't get an assist on that goal. No, he did not. But he was +1 because he was on the ice for that goal against Philadelphia. So far, he has played 6 games, which means he has 3 more before Washington has to make a decision, whether to send him back to Chicoutimi, send him back to the QMJHL, or allow him to stay with the Capitals, which means you do burn a year off that entry-level contract. And this is also implying that if Backstrom comes back and stays healthy, Oshie comes back and stays healthy, Mantha comes back and stays healthy, whenever that may be, you're looking at all of a sudden only having him play half the year and then paying him for the full season. Because you can't send him down to the American League yet. He's not old enough. Last year was an exception, obviously, because of the pandemic. So, yeah, I'm interested to see what's going to happen. What's the decision making here? Obviously, the training staff and the coaching in the front office is looking at Oshie like, hey, when you coming back? Is it sooner or later? He's in a walking boot, which means he's walking on the foot that no one says anything about. They're like, oh, it's a lower body injury. It's his foot. It's his foot, kids. All right. So we'll obviously have to wait and see and keep our eyes on that. Lapierre, I think we may be seeing a lot more. You know what? That line, the rookies keep them together. I mean, they only played 12 minutes. And, we talked with JJ Reagan last week about it. We talked with John Walton about it. It's more out of necessity that these kids are playing these kind of minutes. But at the same token, if they produce, why not? Yes, Brett Leeson's 2 goals have been fluky and weird, but one's created by Connor McMichael. And you know what? That gives those young guys confidence. It's the craziest thing. You ever see a good goal scorer go through a slump? Sometimes the best goal they can score is one that's a dirty goal. It goes off their button in the back of the net or off their skate and into the net. Legally off their skate into the net, I should clear up. But that's one of those things. Sometimes you just need a goal like that. You don't need a fancy-dancy dangle through everybody, Connor McDavid, put it around the goaltender and have his jockstrap hanging from Rogers' place kind of goal. No, you just need one to get going. I think that's why Brett Leason found himself going to the net in a scoring opportunity, getting himself into the scoring area, and leading to his second goal of his career. I'm not saying Brett Leason's going to be a 20-goal scorer this year, but he's got the confidence now because that puck that he is shooting, weirdly enough or not, it's in the back of the net. Maybe we'll see a casual goal, a normal goal, dare I say, from Leason here soon, but we'll have to keep our eyes and ears on that when they take on the Buffalo Sabres tonight. We'll get to our Kuehl Kaps here in just a moment. But obviously, guys, I got to tell you about our good friends at Built Bar, because Built Bar, if you guys remember, Thanksgiving coming up here. And yeah, obviously there's all sorts of great, lovely desserts, pumpkin pie, pecan pie. I love apple pie. It's not good for Thanksgiving, but I just love it. And I'm thinking about it now, and I may have to have some. But if I wanted to eat a little healthy, which everyone should try to these days, Built Bar, that's the way to go. Built Bar has so many delicious flavors. There's German chocolate. There is strawberry. So if you're a strawberry cake kind of person, strawberry ice cream kind of person, they're low calories, low carbs, low fat, high protein, covered in 100% real chocolate for the ones that are in chocolate, by the way. New surprises all month with limited time flavors arriving at Built.com regularly. So check that website often. Nothing like a Built Bar Black Friday, which is only a few weeks away. Mark your calendars because Black Friday is going to have a huge event with some awesome deals on Built.com. So go there at Built.com. Use the promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your first order. And use the promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off Built.com. Now, the Kuehl Kaps of the night. I usually like to do 3, guys. I like 3 stars of the game, 3 Kuehl Kaps. I only have 2 tonight. And mainly because I don't know how many more times I can do Connor McMichael for great performances. I mean, he looked solid. I'm going to give 1 to Brett Leason, second goal of his NHL career. Other than that, it's Vitek Vanacek. And this is not because, just for some reason, watching that game back, no one really stood out to me. You know, there was guys that played well. Carl Hagelin obviously had some good opportunities, had that breakaway. I thought Ovechkin had good looks as well. Kuznetsov played well. Just no one really stood out for me to get the Kuehl Cap of the night. So I'm going to give 1 to Vanacek. I thought he kept the Flyers at bay, kept the Capitals in the game, especially when it got a little bit crazy in that second period, and especially that first period as well, because if Vanacek doesn't look solid and play well and get into that rhythm that goaltenders can do, good goaltenders can do in that first period, we may not be talking about a 2-1 game here. We may be talking about a little bit more of a spread, and we may be throwing our Kuehl Kaps out the door screaming, what the heck is going on here, if that were the case. But he looked solid, played well. I'm not panicking about it. So certainly a Kuehl Cap of the night. Let's look at some games that we're going to have on tonight's schedule. Only 3 outside of Buffalo and Washington. By the way, 2 5-win teams, Buffalo and Washington. No, kids, this is not 1996. This is 2021, where Buffalo and Washington each have 5 wins. I'm actually curious, when was the last time that Buffalo and Washington were close in the standings ever? Not ever, excuse me, but when was the last time? Because in the 90s, that's why I mentioned the 90s, because in the Olaf Kolzig years, that was when Dominik Hasek was literally dragging Buffalo, an abysmal Buffalo team, into playoff berth after playoff berth with his back-to-back MVP seasons. And, of course, the Capitals made it to the Cup in 98. Who they had to beat in the conference final, you guys remember? Yes, that's right, the Buffalo Sabres. And I remember that. And the 2000s were not good for Washington. Jaromir Jagr did not want to be in the district, let's be honest. But that's when Buffalo was, they were in and out. They were not great, but they were in there. Then Buffalo had that post-lockout run with Ryan Miller and Danny Briere and Maxim Afinogenov. But the Capitals were building with Ovechkin, but they weren't there yet. And by the time Ovechkin, they went back to the red and blues, and all of a sudden, Buffalo Sabres started to fall off a little bit. So it's been a while since we've seen these two teams be close in the standings by any stretch. So can't wait to see that matchup tonight. Also, talking about hot Metropolitan Division team, dare I say second in the Metro? Not shockingly, because of this, I knew we had high expectations for this team, but just the way some of the games went early on for them. The New York Rangers, 6-3-3. They're hosting the Florida Panthers, who still have yet to lose in regulation after beating the Carolina Hurricanes, giving them their first loss on Saturday night. Also in Toronto, big game in the 6th. The LA Kings back to 500. They're hot right now, coming into Toronto to take on the Maple Leafs, who are also on the winning path as well. So those will be a couple very interesting games to watch for sure. That is really it for this one, folks, here in this episode of Locked On Capitals. Thank you all very much for making this episode of Locked On Capitals your first listen today and every day. First listen and first watch, because we're on the YouTube as well. That's always really exciting. Be sure to check out Locked On Fantasy Hockey as well after this one to make it your second listen. Host Scotty Cullen is using his decades of fantasy hockey experience to help you master your fantasy hockey league or pool, like this show, free and available on all platforms, wherever you listen, wherever you watch. Actually, just YouTube is where we watch it. We're not quite on other platforms yet. Working on it, though. Working on it. But go ahead and check out Fantasy Hockey. Be sure to follow us at Locked On Caps on Twitter. Be sure to follow us and subscribe here on the YouTube as well. If you're listening, that's fine. Go ahead and listen. Make sure you like our stuff there. Download the episodes and make sure you subscribe there wherever you listen on your favorite platforms to get daily updates. But also go to YouTube if you want to watch me wail my arms around and point at myself and point at you, the people, the awesome people watching Locked On Capitals here. Go on there, subscribe, and hit the bell, because you got to know when every single episode comes out. Right. Because, well, this is my right hand. It's on your left side, but this is also left. So whatever you want. Because I am right and this is left. And oh, that was an awful joke. That was a horrible way to end the show. We're going to end it there. Thank you very much for making Locked On Caps your first listen today. And every day we'll see you tomorrow, recapping the Buffalo Sabres game. We have John Walton interviewing him on Tuesday, so which means that'll be on the Wednesday edition of Locked On Caps. We'll be getting ready for their next matchup as well. Get caught up on the team, how they've been playing, all that good stuff. Be sure to tune in tomorrow. Thank you very much for listening and watching this episode of Locked On Capitals.